Happy New Year and welcome back to the SBS podcast. Today we are recapping UCLA's epic win over Gonzaga, as well as give our honest reviews of the all-new Intuit Dome down in Inglewood. We discuss the large contingent of UCLA fans that made the short drive down the 405, as well as give a little preview of the upcoming opponent for the Bruins this Saturday down in Lincoln, as the Bruins take on the Nebraska Corn Huskers in their first ever Big Ten road game. That's all coming up next on the SBS Pod. Gentlemen, welcome back. How are we doing?
Pretty sweet after that big win.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I missed you boys.
Nothing better. Yes, sir.
I was going
to. I saw you there for a second at Intuit Dome on Saturday. Keon was in the same section as me, so I haven't seen Keon in a while.
But I was locked in. That doesn't count. I don't even remember that. I was blocked out the whole game. I was so locked in. That was a great time.
Ross was. I had my eyes on. I could see Ross's section from where we were sitting, Kyle. You pointed him out. And every now and then I'd look over and it was Ross with the UCLA flag waving. I saw him on the Jumbotron a couple times. So yeah, he was locked in, and you were leading the stadium, Ross.
Dude, I will say, if for future advice, if you're going to a UCLA game or any game at Intuit Dome, very easy to start arena-wide chants. The UCLA chants that were going on offense, I'd like to claim responsibility for 75% of those, if I'm being real.
And a few of the defense, the defense.
Yeah, dude, I had so many people send me videos of me and Schmidt we were on the wall, and I guess we'll just dive straight into our reviews of Intuit Dome. I give it an A-.
Yeah.
And that's a great score, because a lot of these new arenas and stadiums I feel like are super – they're cool and they're shiny, but they're like very soulless and corporate.
Yeah.
Intuit Dome is very shiny. It's very cool. It's very new, but it feels like it was made by someone that like is a sports fan that cared. Like someone put their heart and soul into this, and it was made not for like influencers to post on social media in these luxury suites, but more so for the fucking sports fans that are in the arena. Like, I just like from the little things, just from the bathrooms down to just the setup of the wall, that arena is sweet. I give it an A-, not an A, because the app is annoying. The app itself didn't give me any issues. It was just like, it was annoying that I had to set it up and it took me like 5 minutes. And not just that, but that every single person attending the game has to have the app. That I don't get. Like, that should be optional.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Intuit Dome before this game. I went to a Clippers preseason game for work one time, and so I had some familiarity with the app. I had already set it up, and so like I knew I was going with my dad. Hey, this is what you need to do. But I don't think either the game ops or UCLA or whoever did a really good job in dispelling the information of, you know, you need an app, you need all these, everybody needs their own ticket. They like maybe make a how-to guide on the website.
You're saying they didn't do a good job?
They did not. I don't think they did.
I didn't see anything like that.
All you see on Twitter and stuff are people complaining, being like, "Oh, we got to the arena and like we didn't have anything set up, and there's all these people waiting outside." So I don't know if it's possible to buy a ticket and not get hit with a shit ton of disclaimers being like, "You cannot get in without an account."
Yeah, I'm just saying about these like. I saw a number of older fans who had stuff printed out.
That's why it's so stupid that every single attendee has to do it. Like you can't even transfer someone a ticket. They need the app to receive it.
They need a smartphone. They need the app.
Yeah. So
the other thing was buying concessions. I was having a difficult time buying concessions. I set up the whole Face ID and it kept asking me if I was Rick. Which now looking back, I maybe should have just said I was Rick and went in and
charged it to the house.
Dime. Yeah, exactly on the house. But twice I went to concessions and just my Face ID for no reason did not work. So I was like, screw it. So, I guess in between timeouts, and I just wanted to get back to my seat.
I guess the Intuit Dome reviews will be very case by case. Like, did your app work? You probably had a great time. Did your app fuck up? You probably are super bitter and kind of hated it. I just thought it was so. Well, right when you walk in, there's that outdoor entertainment area where there's like multiple bars. There's a basketball court with this giant jumbotron alongside of it. Yeah. I shot a few hoops myself, airballed a few of them. It was awesome. Yeah, that whole scene outside is great, but I thought I was just so sick when I walked up to like the entry gate
And you just walk
and
through.
they just go, "All right, you're good, Ross."
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that part's sick.
It's almost a little
Yeah.
freaky.
Yeah.
A little
weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. And
Yeah.
also, one last thing: the high school jerseys are so fucking.
The high
sick.
school jerseys are sick. As all three of us attending, Southern California
Did
high
you guys
schools.
find your jerseys?
I found mine. Yeah.
I found mine. I found my girlfriend's. Found my sister's. Yeah, I found them all.
It was dope.
Oh,
but
yeah.
the stadium itself was sick. You could tell,
Yes.
like you said, like one gripe that I have about Staples Center, it's a multi-purpose arena. It's meant for concerts. It's meant for doing a whole bunch of other. It's meant for hockey. This was a basketball stadium.
Yeah.
And it was meant for
Yeah.
basketball, and the acoustics, like you mentioned, Ross, stuff like that. Like you could tell this was for basketball fans for a basketball game. So you got to give credit there.
and just the steepness of the stands, right?
Yeah,
The
as
scum
a-
stand. Yeah, it's just if you feel like you're really in in a good way a claustrophobic basketball environment, and that's kind of like I think why I was so successful in getting those chants fired up. I don't know if the yell crew was even fucking there.
I didn't see any.
But that's why I think we were so successful in doing that because the
No
sound
band.
just carries. Yeah, what the fuck's going on with the lack of?
At
I
neutral
was
sites,
pissed, bro. I was pissed when I didn't see the
You
band.
brought the
It's perfect
cheerleaders,
time-
but you didn't bring the
Yeah,
band for the
It's the
whatever
perfect
8
time
mile.
to come out and have the the fight song when you run onto the court and
It wasn't
you know.
packed. The stadium wasn't packed.
Well-
The top row was,
You could have fit them.
you could
for
have
sure.
fit the band
But-
easily and sold the same amount of tickets.
But despite it not being a sellout, I mean, first off, that arena's huge. What is it, 19,000
it's
people?
big. It's a big.
That's like a small college football stadium.
It's big for it.
Would have been a sellout at Pauley Pavilion. What was the total attendance? Was it 14K?
It was it would have sold out, Paulie. I remember looking this up after. Yeah.
14K and 85% at least UCLA fans.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect. Kyle, I remember you mentioning it on a previous episode, being like, hey, this is like kind of like the final test. If UCLA fans can't be a majority at this game and get taken over by Gonzaga, like the fan base is dead. Well, the fan base is not dead. Right when I got out of the Uber, I got on the sidewalk. I'm like, oh, there's like already like 40 jerseys like in my immediate vicinity. I kept walking into the arena, and it was just like, dude, is there a single Gonzaga fan here? Like, it was like pushing 90% Bruin
Yeah,
fans.
it
It
was
was
a lot.
awesome. Great
Yeah.
fucking job
It was
by
a
the
great
fans.
showing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great showing. Just like like you mentioned on past podcasts, like if UCLA fans can't get up for a top 25 matchup against Gonzaga, a team that's just our bitter rival in the past couple years, and you throw it as the first college basketball game in the new Intuit Dome arena, like if we couldn't do it for this game, and then it was lost all hope. But it was very impressive showing. I mean, down the stretch, it was loud, it was fun, it was good to see people on their feet. Being loud when Gonzaga had the ball down the stretch, and then obviously there's nothing like I love having that UCLA chant in Pauley. So the fact that Ross was leading that into Intuit Dome just hits home much better.
And I gotta say, and I talked about this with my dad after the game. You had such a mix of fans, and there was people in my section. I saw other people, waving people to get up and get loud. You don't get that at Pauley because you have that reserved section of donors that we've talked about. But with this game, where you had just normal Joe fans, nobody had their section that they were everywhere, and it was a really cool environment to be a part of. I haven't seen a UCLA basketball game like that in or out of Pauley since the Villanova game, maybe.
Yep. I think a lesson learned from this game is, at least as it pertains to noise in crowd engagement and environment, the season ticket holders are the fucking problem. I mean, look, you need them. They pay for everything. They pay. I'm assuming they're the NIL people. Mm-hmm. They pay for the whole shebang, but they never fucking show up. They refuse to stand. They yell at people that do. Now, this was a perfect little experiment because you took an arena that's like, basically, it's right off campus, and it was an awesome environment. UCLA fans had a bit of a little tenacity in them.
Yep.
So
No, it was hostile. It was like for Gonzaga, I would say it was a real hostile environment. You guys both went to Arizona, UCLA. How did it compare from what Arizona did at their neutral site?
I'm glad you asked, because there is still, I don't know why, there is still a disconnect between UCLA fans and defense.
Okay.
They're more than happy to get in on chance on offense, but when we'd have all the momentum and it's time to get a stop. It was
silent.
It was pretty silent, and people were just kind of standing and watching. When we were in Phoenix, and it was time for Arizona to get a stop, it was every single person in the arena that was wearing red was yelling.
Yep.
I would try to get people. I would try to get people to engage with me, and no one I don't know where that culturally lies. Like why people can't figure out when you're on defense. Not every possession. But on the critical ones, it's time to stand up and just yell.
And it's easy. Those possessions are easy to identify.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially in a 1-2 point game like this.
It's the ones where I'd say the difference between the game Saturday and the game in Arizona was, I would say that there were a few times in the first half, early second half, where UCLA fans were loud. We weren't entirely on our feet. Arizona fans in the first half, with 9 minutes on the clock, when Arizona just got 2 buckets and maybe they just got to stop, that next time down the floor, they're on their feet, right? They feel the momentum. They just had a dunk, something like that. I think that's where the disconnect is like, it almost feels like it's the first half. Okay, it's not really important yet. We're going to wait till under 5 minutes in the second half to actually like stand up and be loud for a consistent 2 minutes.
We had an 11-point lead that first half, so maybe that could have led into it, but then they ended up squandering it.
Give me a break. If you think an 11-point lead is safe,
no, it's not.
I mean, this is a great win, but it kind of brings me to my next segment of how this was the definition of a crone win. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this new term I'm trying to coin. A crone win. Get it?
Yeah.
Crone and win. It was the formula. Here's the definition of a crone win. High-profile matchup where UCLA blows a double-digit lead but still wins in dramatic fashion. That was it in a nutshell. We had one against Arizona. That's 2 on the year.
Oregon.
We almost had one against North Carolina.
Yep.
Did we have a double-digit lead against Oregon?
Was it?
I think we were pretty damn close.
It was maybe 9 points.
It was maybe 9.
We almost have 4 crone wins on the season. Wow.
Yeah. We're good at it. I'll tell you that.
I wish we weren't because, dude, I'm not kidding.
We're pretty damn good.
I don't think there's a more not difficult. There is a more stressful team to be a fan of than UCLA basketball in the United States. UCLA just seems like in the last 5-6 years, it has to be something theatrical.
It's like an act of God.
Something at the end has to fucking happen.
It's just because the offense is not good enough. I mean, we haven't had an offense where, even the year where it was Hawkins, Campbell is there. Those guys last year, like, those offenses could stall for 4 or 5 minutes at a time. Well, and I just feel like it almost is just like tight butthole syndrome, right? Mm-hmm. We get so tight towards the end of a game, and it's like we try and almost run down the clock and run the perfect possession, where you start to pass up open looks because you want to run the clock down further, and then all of a sudden you don't get a good look. And I feel like a lot of times that's what Cronin coaches, teams with leads towards the end of the game to do is like just use all the clock you can, and we'll pray it goes in. Well, and even when it doesn't go in, you're sort of screwed.
Well, even at the beginning of this game, the defense was fantastic. We held Gonzaga 27 points below their season average. They had scored over 100 times, 3 times this season. We held them to 62. But having said that, I think it was the first 8 minutes. The only player to score a field goal was Lazarus Stefanovic.
Yeah.
He had 2 field goals.
Who came in after one possession.
Yeah, he came in, hit a couple of threes and in a jump shot. And it wasn't until Sky Clark kind of kicked off a little bit of a run where multiple people started scoring. But yeah, it's if you keep winning, who really cares, I guess? But the fans just have to pay the price because, like you just mentioned, you're
terrible game to watch.
You're never. Oh, I like it. It's fun to watch because it's close, but it's just hard on your cardiovascular health as a fan, dude. It's just. You just know no lead is safe because there will be a period when there's a lid on the basket.
But I wanted to give credit to the scheduling, though. We've had some gaps between these emotional wins generally. I feel like in college basketball, you have those Thursday, Sunday games, especially for sure for the conference. But in the non-conference, we had the Arizona win. We had a gap. Mm-hmm. We had this win, we have a week gap. It gives the team time to settle back down, recover from that emotional win, and really focus on the next opponent. Obviously, that's going to change when we get into conference schedule. But we had we went 3 for 4 on our big non-conference games.
It's funny because we talked gauntlet all football season. Basketball basically had the same thing in terms of just stretches of massive games against massive opponents. And we came out in a very, very good spot after that. We have 3 now quality wins. All 3 should end up being quad 1. They're going to have another quad 1 opportunity this Saturday at Nebraska. But let's talk Gonzaga more. I don't want to get ahead of Nebraska just yet because this was biggest win of the season for UCLA. I think that goes without question. Am I wrong? Anyone dispute
Monkey
that?
off the back. I think the bigger thing is just monkey off the back. We finally, beat Gonzaga for the first time in a while.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue the case that Oregon might right now be a better resume win, maybe. But I just think if you look at this contextually from the lens of just college basketball, holy shit, did UCLA need to finally beat Gonzaga?
Mick Cronin needed to beat Mark Few.
But I think if we want to look at MVPs from this game, I guess I'll go first. And it might be a consensus. Sky Clark, I think, is one of the hands-down emerging studs on this team. And given the way Dylan Andrews is just regressing, I guess, that is huge because I don't think it'd be a surprise, maybe not Saturday, because we know how Mick likes to be loyal to his guys, which sometimes works out. We've seen it work out in the past with guys like Johnny Juzang. I'm sure there's other examples, but I can't imagine he's just going to hop off the DA train like that. But we are getting into conference play. We're getting deeper into the season, and he's not getting any better. He had 0 points against Gonzaga. I want to say he had a 1 offensive rebound, 1 defensive rebound, and maybe an assist. But outside of that, Dylan Andrews was virtually unplayable. So to see Sky Clark have that type of performance, I think at some point it's going to be like, you can't not start the guy.
Totally. And he needs to be your primary ball handler on offense for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's
7 assists.
He's 7 assists. He's a playmaker in that sense, but he probably rebounds more aggressively than anybody on the team. He had 2.
He
Go
was
ahead.
the leading rebounder with 9. He had 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 11 points.
Yeah.
But if we're going around doing MVPs, I think my MVP is Kobe Johnson.
Yeah. Big second half.
Had a huge second half, right? He had a huge second half, 4 for 6 for threes, had huge 3-pointers in that game. And some tough contested threes from NBA range as well. Added on 8 rebounds, and then he's just lengthy. Like, you need a guy like that to be on the court. There's a video I saw posted on Twitter late in the second half. He went in, really just knocked the ball out of the guard's hand, and he had to chase it back to the half court or back court. By the time he picked it up, they only had like 6 seconds left on the clock, and they had to chuck up like a 30-footer and missed it. So like little shit like that doesn't show up in the box score, but just the deflections and things like that. Kobe Johnson is so vital, and I've just been waiting for his offense to sort of come around. And if we can get him offensively to start putting down some threes, this team's proven to me, Ross, and we weren't expecting it, that they can actually shoot the 3 ball.
Well, yeah, dude.
Only reason we won the game.
Yeah,
offensively.
The second half, the 3-pointers came alive. It's weirdly becoming like kind of an offensive identity of this team. Is that siren coming up in the audio? Whatever. Well, what's funny is Kobe Johnson didn't attempt a shot in the first half. And then in the second half, he sunk, what was it, 3 3-pointers?
Huge. And the timing of them
4
was
3-pointers. And then to add on top of that, still talking about heroes of the game, Eric Daly goes 4 for 5 from downtown. 18 total points. Sorry, Keon, to hijack that one from you. But point goes to show that this team can shoot the 3-ball, apparently. And we kind of talked after the Oregon game, like, was this just kind of like a funny freak win where everything was just falling? But we have multiple games now where UCLA is getting bailed out by the 3-point shot, which is a sight for sore eyes for UCLA fans.
Yeah.
Outside of David Singleton.
Yeah. Eric Daly Jr., that's my MVP if I have to pick a third. Big points, big, minutes that he spent in the game. My only flaw, and I don't think anybody's going to contest this, is his foul trouble. We need him late in the games. He is an offensive weapon, and if Kobe Johnson is the only person who's scoring, or Sky Clark is the only person who's scoring, it's easy to defend. You need a third option,
I think that goes for any of our good guys.
Absolutely.
The foul
4
trouble.
fouls with 6 minutes left in the game is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially because Daly, his foul trouble is well documented. We've seen it multiple times. Kobe Johnson, just the nature of his player profile of being handsy, reaching, which is why you love him, but you also, it's why it's kind of a downfall for him because he can get into foul trouble. Lazar Stefanovic, he can just find himself making early mistakes and getting into early foul trouble. So UCLA's got guys offensively. I just think it's a matter of keeping them on the court. Because, especially with Eric Daly, because I don't think you can even question at this point. There's kind of another quiet game from Tyler Bilodeau. Eric Daly is the best all-around basketball player on this squad, and him staying on the court it's a must happen. Like that has to be the case for every game that UCLA is going to win.
I want to say he had 17 points, and he didn't play the last 5 minutes of the game. 18 points. Yeah, it's you need a scorer. Especially in these 1-2 possession games, and it's really evident when he's not there.
He had 4 steals as well.
Exactly.
I'm just looking at the box score. 4 steals. He's gonna rebound. He just shoots the ball at a high percentage. I think he's, if you take a look, I think he's the leading 3-point percentage. Yep, and he's the 3rd leading, on just general field goal percentage behind William Kyle and Adimara, which are mostly, dunks and inside the key. Which, going back to keeping Daly on the floor, it's going to be that much more important now because, William Kyle is going to be out for some time. He just had surgery today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he had surgery on. I didn't see anything. But yeah, losing a guy like William Kyle who, can spare some fouls. In college basketball, you always need someone that can spare some fouls. The more fouls you have to give, the better. So
yeah, I think the Will Kyle loss, it's the first real disappointment of this season, and I say that because it was coming out of the North Carolina game. Because going into that game, William Kyle just kind of felt like, the guy's a freak athlete, high ceiling for whatever it is that however we find a way to play him, he's going to have a high ceiling. But it wasn't until that North Carolina game that the lob really just came to life. I want to say that William Kyle had 3 monstrous alley-oop dunks. I forget who was the primary lobber. I'm assuming someone like Sky Clark, or doesn't really matter. But I was like, God, this might just be a major tool that we just unlocked with William Kyle, because having a solid lob option, especially when you're a team that just struggles to really find good open looks.
Scores,
yeah. So I thought that we really had something there. So to find out that A, he was sitting out of the game against Gonzaga, but B, most importantly, he had some sort of operation. I think Mick is keeping that under wraps. He seems to be okay. He tweeted about it today. So wish the best for Kyle and a speedy recovery. We have no idea if he's out for the season, if he's out for a few weeks. I don't know, but that's a bummer.
Yeah, 100%. I'll just sort of lead into Dylan Andrews. I know we want to touch on him a little bit more, but
we do.
I was going to bring up Sebastian Mack. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think a guy like William Kyle being able to do, generate from the pick and roll, like Dylan Andrews is. You look at him, he is not. He's not a power guard that's going to really get to the rack. Like we saw last year, his best game is the pick and roll and either playing that lob into a Dembona or pop in and hit in a mid-range jump shot. And I think probably, honestly, what a product of Dylan Andrews struggling so much this year is there's no respect to the lob outside of William Kyle and this UCLA team. So guards are, picking up on that, and, bigs can play over the top and sort of almost do what we do, where Mara sort of sneaks out and, presses the guard to push up the court, and he can't really drive downhill. So I think that's going to continue to sort of hurt Dylan Andrews' game, because he's not the guy that's going to really get to the rack. He needs that sort of option to play off the pick and roll to open up his mid-range game. So hopefully there's another way we can get him going. But
what's my hope? What my hope is with Dylan Andrews is if we continue to see good guard play out of Sky Clark and Sebastian Mack. Love him or hate him in his style. He's either hot or cold, pretty streaky player, but he is the most effective guy on the team in getting into the paint, which is huge for us. I'm hoping that Mick can sort of maybe alleviate some of these minutes off of Dylan Andrews, kind of like take some, I guess, pressure off his shoulders. Because I feel like a lot of this has to be mental. Because if you look back last year in February, Dylan Andrews was the best player on the team. Mm-hmm. He was playing at All-American, All-Conference level. That's why we were so high on him going into the season, because everything, you'd figure that this is now going to be his team because he's third year under his belt. He's going to be team leader, but he's just taken so many steps back. Given the minutes we're seeing out of him and him being the true point guard, who knows? It could be a matter of he needs to be thinking a little less responsibility, let these other guards take some serious minutes, and who knows, maybe that could be the turnaround that he needs. But as of right now, he is unplayable.
Right.
It's you got to play him for his defense, but on the offensive end, the assists aren't there, the rebounds aren't there, and the points are literally not there.
Yeah, and I want to bring up a cool moment as maybe one of those guards that I don't think he's really going to step up this year, but throughout the season he's gotten some valuable minutes. Trent Perry had a sick and one.
I'm glad you brought that up.
That was I really enjoyed seeing that for the kid. Obviously from a UCLA perspective, but just and then for him to get fired up on the floor.
Yep.
We didn't have a ton of and ones because this team doesn't really attack the rim that much. But for him to show the confidence as a true freshman in a big game, to attack the rim, get the and one, and I believe he made his free throw. It shows a lot of stones, and it's some good minutes he got. He didn't get a ton, but that moment there, I think, is going to help him a lot down the season.
No, I don't know how we glossed over Trent. I think even outside of that and one, which was fucking awesome, I think he didn't make any mistakes like he kind of had in the past. During the gauntlet, I feel like Trent kind of looked very freshman-like. Prior to that, he looked pretty decent. But this game specifically, he had an awesome and one. He played smart. So, yeah, that takes it even further. UCLA has depth at guard. It'll be interesting to see with Trent maybe taking the next step forward, Matt continuing to do what he does, as well as Sky becoming the guy. What's going to happen of this, or what's going to come of this guard rotation? We'll see. I also don't want to forget bringing up Adai Mara.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be another because we've actually talked about this on prior episodes, when we're going to see him in more of he couldn't have had more than 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think it's a matter of just when we're going to see Adai Mara start to see 15, 16, 17 minutes under the basket, because while he's got a pretty limited offensive skill set, I feel like he just kind of always has, unless he's directly under the basket. But there was that stretch, I want to say it was in late in the first half, where he just stands basically on his heels, puts his feet up or puts his hands up straight up, and the guys can't score on him. So under the basket, he's a great rim protector, which outside of him, we do not have. So I thought Mara played a great game. And I just think that it's going to have to be, especially in the Big Ten. I don't know if Nebraska's the matchup to do it, but as we get into this more physical, larger conference of the Big Ten, you're probably going to want to see a bit more of Adai Mara.
He needs to stop.
It's almost there.
Yeah, offensively, he needs to stop putting the ball on the ground.
Yeah,
he got stripped a few times, or just lost his handle. You're 7-1. Get to the rim, post up, get it in the air, stay up, and just lay it up or hook it. He tried a few hooks that didn't go in, but you're 7-1 with a 7'6" wingspan.
I don't know if you're going to see his offensive game really come into play at all this season, because Mick has said it in post-game pressers. His issue is lower body strength. He doesn't really have the base to establish himself under the rim. So what he's kind of forced to do is get the ball outside the key and sort of use these almost Tyler Bilodeau type finesse type moves with hook shots and floaters, and he doesn't have it. I think his minutes are going to be from the boards and the block shots, which in certain matchups UCLA is going to need.
Totally.
If he can start putting down a couple of these hooks, I mean, he's got to be. I feel like every game he's 1 for 4, 1 for 5, 0 for 3. If he can start putting in a couple of these, it's really going to help.
Made a couple free throws.
Help his confidence, 1, but 2, just when Adeymara's on the floor right now, we're playing with 4 offensive threats.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, you're playing with
Yep.
4 offensive threats and then a rebounder and a shot protector. Like you're just sacrificing a little bit of that side of the floor when he's in the game. But if I mean, it's almost there. Every game now, it almost feels like he gets the ball in the post, and it's like, all right, this is the time where he's just gonna, it's gonna click. But yeah, he's getting more and more minutes. Hopefully, he can start to get into that 12-14 range. And I think, I mean, with William Kyle out, like we're gonna need it.
Yep.
We're gonna definitely need his size.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to predict now in this age with the transfer portal where guys will go, how long they'll stay, but not to get too ahead of ourselves, but I'm just picturing a year 4 Adeymara with maybe just some additional weight, some more experience, some more development to like his touch around the rim. The tools are there. The guy was a 5-star. He's 7'4", and another, it's an underrated aspect of his game is his ability to pass. He's a good passer. I think he had 1 assist
100%.
for a massive 3-point shot.
Yeah, it was one to Daly in the corner, I think, where he pointed at Norman Powell, which was pretty dope.
Yeah, that's right, dude. Norman Powell's such a fucking all-time Bruin. He's a Howland guy.
Yeah.
Adeymara also just turned 19.
Yeah.
He's
Exactly.
a young kid, even for college hoops. He's not an NBA guy right now. I don't know if he'll ever be, but he still has a lot of development to go through. And he's coming from Spain. There's a lot of mental things that I think he still needs to work through in his maturity until he becomes that big, hopefully offensive weapon that you could just pass the ball in the post and he can go up with it. But I'm optimistic, and I like Mick giving him that 10 to 12 minutes a game. I don't know if he could last longer. It would be nice defensively to maybe have him in for 16.
Yeah.
I do want to see Adeymara on the golf course. I saw on his Instagram story the other day.
He golfs?
He was at Rancho Park
No way.
driving range. Posted on his Instagram.
I was
story.
there today.
I'm like, dude, those clubs got to be so long.
That's
So, yeah,
hilarious.
he's
If I was
Rancho Park
golfing and I
driving
ran
range.
into a Adeymara, that would be so funny.
You just look up.
Seeing him anywhere would be hilarious. All right. Well, that brings up Saturday. UCLA travels to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Corn Huskers. They have not lost at home in 1 year, almost to the date. Actually, a year and a week. A year and 1 week, Nebraska has not lost on their home floor. Like we mentioned, no real quality wins yet, though Ken Palm still is pretty high up on them, 39th currently in Ken Palm. And yeah, win over Indiana, got smacked against Michigan State. One thing I noticed about Nebraska is that they're a fucking old team age-wise. Out of their 5 starters, 4 of them are some form of super seniors.
and we'll see a familiar Bruin, old Bruin, Burke.
You know what's funny? Oh shit! I just reacted because we have Nebraska playing Southern something right now up on the TV, and they're smacking them, and they just hit a 3. But Burke's out there. I'm actually looking at his face right now. Burke has put on some lbs. Oh boy, probably gained about 15 pounds. They don't look like the most quality of pounds.
Yeah, a little in the midsection.
But let it be heard. Burke. What is it? Boyatensel? How the fuck do you say his last name? Anybody know?
I could never. I just
I don't
said.
know the
I just
pronunciation,
went with Burke.
Dude, you know what's funny? It wasn't until like the last quarter of the season I was just calling him Burke. So yeah, we'll be seeing Burke. And Hoiberg's a good coach. I want to say that Hoiberg was close to being our coach before he landed Cronin.
They, I mean, you look at their schedule. They do have a win over Creighton when Creighton was 14. I don't know how, and it's an away win, so that's got to be quad 1. But obviously a very cupcake-like schedule. Fairleigh Dickinson, Bethan Cook.
Are these school names?
Yeah.
Wait,
Fairleigh Dickinson. FDU was this team that beat Virginia a couple years ago, I think, when they were 16.
And what was the next one? Beth and Cook?
Bethune Cook, yeah.
I'm going to need to see this spelled out.
Left ass
They
cheek
beat-
state.
No, yeah, this
They beat
is
Bethune Cook by 5.
this is Sisters of the Poor type shit. Was it Bethune Cookman?
Yeah.
From
I believe
Daytona
so.
Beach, Florida, private nonprofit.
Yep.
All right, so they played some online schools. Understood.
Yeah.
Speaking of online schools, Grand Canyon versus who did they? St. USD
I
at
saw-
4 p.m.
I saw some.
What the fuck?
I saw some Lopes fans walking around. I'm like, so you guys aren't just 3D printed, placed in an arena. You guys are real fucking people. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't put it past the Intuit Dome having like humanoids walking around. Steve Ballmer might have just made some fucking 3D printed GCU fans. I have really, really serious, not doubts. I've got just questions about that basketball program.
Yeah, why do they even exist?
What the fuck happened? It's like they started as a school in like 2015. And then like that year, they had maybe the most like insane home environment in the country.
Yeah, and
like,
you saw those commercials.
Yeah. I'm like, this is something creepy that's going on.
Yeah.
That is not a organically fostered home crowd. It normally takes like aren't you like a club team for like they just jumped in the NCAA and
D1.
now they've got these people like camping out for games. I'm like, who are these people?
Yeah. It's weird, dude. And the fact that they got the 4 p.m. slot, I think Kyle and I talked about it. It was because it was a Rams game at SoFi later. That's probably why they didn't give UCLA the 4 p.m. But just hilarious that it was USD versus an online school.
Who won?
I had no idea. That's...
Yeah,
are they in the same conference?
Grand
No.
Canyon won by like 10 or 11.
Okay, there you go.
No, but
The
it was
powerhouse.
hilarious. Everyone's hyped after the win, and all of a sudden I just see all like these guys were taking the floor, running on the floor. I'm like, who the fuck are these guys?
It's Northwestern. No, it's Grand Canyon.
It's the Lopes. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk some tweets. College Basketball Report is the name of the account. They tweet, the FAA has launched an investigation after a Delta plane almost hit the Gonzaga men's basketball team's private jet on Friday at LAX. Bad week for airplanes.
Yeah. Around the world, yeah.
Yeah, not to make light of...
Did you see the video?
Okay, I was going to bring that up because if the ground control guy is saying, no, which is what the audio is, what he said in the audio, I totally believe that it was a serious situation.
Yeah.
But I watched the video. Kind of seems like a bit of an overreaction. What did you think, Kyle? Did you watch the clip?
I did. I actually didn't know there was audio. I must have just not listened to it on audio, but...
Well, what did you think about just...
Yeah, it didn't look very close.
No.
Personally.
Yeah.
It was like they had
But
like 100 yards. Like, I know that's...
Maybe the plane that was, taking off, maybe just it was like, oh shit, I gotta take off quicker now. Maybe it wasn't really ready to take off. I don't know. But if he would have kept going,
Yeah, then it would have
the
been.
wing might have clipped.
I love how this is just so like we have no idea what we are talking about. Like
We're aviation experts.
Like the FAA just launched an investigation. And here I am on my
not a big deal.
on my sports podcast being like, dude, that looked like fucking just nothing to me.
Classic Gonzaga, whining about nothing.
Dude.
I have an issue with Gonzaga fans. I didn't bring this up yet. I don't know how we got this point in this. Do you guys have Gonzaga fans near you guys at the game?
No. So
Very nice people.
I'm glad you brought that up because I'd never really encountered them. They get bad reviews on Twitter but that's like the vocal, no one's going to go on there and be like, I loved the Gonzaga at the game. So there were a lot of people that were complaining about it online, but there were like none around me. Like I said, it was almost all UCLA fans. So I don't really know what they were like. I didn't encounter them.
Yeah, this is my second Gonzaga UCLA game. I went to the one in Vegas as well. And I was around some Gonzaga fans. They were fine. But this game in particular, there's one dude behind me. I want to say in his mid to late 30s.
Was he fat?
He was a little heavy set. I want to say he was fat, but he was there with his parents and maybe his girlfriend or his sister. I couldn't tell. And every time at the beginning of the game, Gonzaga scored, he'd like nudge me a little bit.
Oh,
and I'd be like, "Bro, like
like
a little like a shoulder nudge." And I was like, and at one point, I was like, "Dude, we can talk shit as much as you want. I'll talk shit with you till the sun goes down. I can be a good sport about it. If you could be a good sport about it, don't touch me. Don't push me.
That's crazy.
And then his mom tried to kind of diffuse it a little bit by saying, like, we're Catholic. We're good people. We're Catholic.
How old was he?
He was in his, like, mid-30s. and then he was like, you guys have no relevant championships. I'm like, we have 11. We have 11 national champions. He's like, yeah, but you weren't alive for any of them. I'm like, I'd rather have 11 when I'm not alive than zero ever.
How many was he alive for Gonzaga?
Exactly. 0. They have 0. Like, and then he
yeah.
and he was just like, oh yeah, but like last year was such a good year. I was like, oh, when you guys won the national championship, and he's like, no, we made the Final Four. I'm like, get out of here. But yeah, he kept trying to instigate things with me, and I was just like, bro, like, give it a rest, man. And then we won. I was ready to turn around and just absolutely rain hell on him, and they had gotten out of there as fast as they could.
That's what the Zona fans did to Kyle. Why does nobody give us a chance to chirp back? Fuck.
They were out of there so fast.
Exactly.
I had a Zag family in front of us, and they were very, very quiet. I mean, rightfully cheered when Gonzaga did good, and didn't really say much when they were going bad. So, I didn't. It was my first or second Gonzaga game, but the first time sitting around some Gonzaga fans. And anyone from Spokane is just a good person. A good person.
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to generalize. I just had a bad experience there with that family. But I'm sorry, Mr. Kyle lives in Spokane, so he has a special place for them. But they were trying to tell me like I'd rather live in Spokane than in LA. And I was like, dude, I wouldn't sell my right nut. I so
wish me and my group were sitting next to this fucking guy. This would have been so funny.
And then I said something, and his girlfriend was like, "Yeah, that's actually a good point." And I'm like,
"Were they from Spokane?"
I honestly couldn't tell. The mom kept trying to diffuse it by saying we're Catholic, and I'm like, I don't even. That makes no sense.
Ryan Day's dye job is
just a quick left turn.
It literally is like someone got those Sharpies that are like extra thick.
Yeah,
it's like he used one of the. My god! Someone's got to.
He must have gotten hair advice from Chip Kelly.
They just showed him on the TV, and I was like half listening to what you guys were saying because I was just watching.
Thank you.
Something about the devil, and I'm like, Ryan Day is making an ass out of himself. He looks. Dude, there's nothing wrong with aging a little. I'm sure it's a little gray. It's like the blackest hair I've ever seen on a human.
Are we going Oregon or Ohio State at the Rose Bowl in a couple days? Are they showing
the Big Ten show right now?
Yeah, it's the Big Ten show right now.
Yeah. Who do I want in that game?
Who do you want? Who do you think?
Who do I want? I'm rooting for the asteroid.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for termites to bring the place down. Fuck both of those programs. I mean, if I had to pick,
I was very confused on who you wanted to win. I was like,
the termites.
I was trying to figure out which team those termites were relative to.
I am going to root for. I'm going to put on a termites jersey. Say I'm rooting for this place to collapse and for there to be a no contest because I'm not rooting for Oregon.
No,
I'm not rooting for Chip Kelly. Who do I think is going to win? Dude, fuck it. I want Ohio State. I don't want Oregon to ever win a national championship.
Yeah.
I think it'd be beautiful for them to never win a national championship. It's too funny that their logo's a 0.
They have the jerseys and everything.
I will say this. Oh, my God. The uniforms for this Saturday or whatever, Wednesday, they're so fucking cool.
Yeah, they're dope. The helmets are dope.
It's kind of a nod to...
I wish they'd include a rose in it, to be honest with you, like Utah did.
That'd be sick.
But
well, I feel like this is kind of a nod to the 2012... Oregon Rose Bowl versus Wisconsin, which in the world of football swag was monumental when DeAnthony Thomas and them, they brought out the chrome helmets for the first time.
Chrome domes.
Nowadays, you see a chrome helmet. I don't give a fuck. I'm pretty sure UCLA is wearing chrome helmets. But I remember when they came out in those, it was like nothing like I had ever seen before. So,
yeah.
But... fuck.
I'd rather have Ohio State. It's hard to be the same team twice in a season. It rarely happens in college football. Yeah. You see it in the NFL a lot, but I think Ohio State's going to win. I would like Ohio State to win.
Yeah. Fuck.
Right. I want Boise State to win. I think Boise State's going to beat Penn State.
Is that game tomorrow?
No.
There's one game tomorrow.
Arizona. No, you're right.
Arizona.
The Fiesta Bowl. The Fiesta Bowl is tomorrow. It is Boise.
Okay.
Boise Penn State.
Yeah.
And I'm rooting for Ashton Genty in Boise.
That'd be pretty cool if Boise State could.
I think James Franklin's going to choke.
Yeah.
Well,
he's due. He's due for a choke.
Yeah, we've been saying that. All right. Anything else, boys? That's all I've got.
No. Shout out a lot of people at the Intuit Dome wearing SBS merch.
Yeah.
I saw quite a few.
I got a few photos. I unfortunately only ran into one SBS guy. Was hoping to see more. Because it's always just... it's so fun seeing people rocking SBS gear outside in the real world. But
I saw a few on the Jumbotron outside of you.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's dope.
Very good time. All right. We will be back next week to recap, ideally, a win over Nebraska. And UCLA will be gearing up for who's the next opponent? I never know.
Michigan.
Boom. Yep. We got a lot of good basketball ahead of us. And thanks again for tuning in, as always. And we will talk to you next Tuesday.
Yep. Happy New Year, Bruins.
Happy New Year. See you next
Happy New Year.
Go Bruins.